Hey, just in case you were wondering. All right. So thanks everybody for coming to the meeting. We have a couple of things to cover, just updates, as well as some questions specifically for Jim and possibly Kevin if he comes back, Scott as well. So just to follow up with the basketball courts at 300 King, ultimately, so no votes were taken. So Board of Health had the recommendation that they should stay closed. The Board of Selectmen also had the recommendation that they should be closed. And the Park Commission stayed with their previous vote of the courts being closed on all of those recommendations. So currently the basketball courts are closed at 300 King. So I just wanted to see if there were any other questions or follow up on any of that. Nope. Okie dokes. So the next thing was there was a phase 3 update to camp. So John, if you want to kind of go through some of those, they just came out. So, you know, we've been reviewing them, but there's been some number changes and things like that. So John, if you want to run through that stuff, it would be great.
Yeah, so there really wasn't a lot of changes that I saw. I mean, they just kind of put in a different color on it, but group sizes moved from 12 to 25. So we can have 25, including staff, in one group as long as the space provides it. At our camp specifically, that would really only affect like the area in the cafeteria that's big enough to house that many kids. The classrooms would have to stay the same. We could probably go up to, when we did the grid, it was 16 spots for kids with the 42 square feet. So we could probably go, so with the door opening that leaves 15 with 2 staff, we could probably go to groups of 12 if we got the okay from everybody. The powers that be, you know, it talks a little bit about personal equipment from the kids. You know, we have all the kids bringing in their own things. Talks about being shared as long as it was disinfected. And it addresses a little bit more about swimming, using of off-site playgrounds, pools, and beaches. To reserve that, they have to reserve their own dedicated time slot to prevent interaction with other camps and the general public. So that's just something that's, I guess it's sort of field trippy. So, I mean, that really, we're not sure we would do anything like that this time. We certainly wouldn't be doing anything yet. We'd have to really look into something like that as far as like going to like ocean beaches for ourselves with Christian's Law hasn't been able to be happening. So going to like a pool that we can reserve the whole place to ourselves, I find that hard to see us being able to do something like that. I know that One Stop Fun reached out to us about going to their pool for a day. That, you know, the other trick would be transporting, and how would we do that with, you know, we haven't really reviewed the transportation guidelines because we're not transporting anybody. So that's kind of really all there is that I saw. You know, camps programs may provide limited camp transportation to the surrounding areas and recreational facilities where significant interaction with the public is not expected. All transportation must be conducted consistent with the requirements for planning, screening, and sanitation. Traveling by foot or biking is encouraged when reasonably possible or safe to do so. So, again, that doesn't really, you know, apply to us as far as like being able to go anywhere. And what we have in sort of the works now seems to be very good. I think being able to increase the group sizes might be helpful. We've had to like separate kids by group a little bit because, you know, we usually separate the kids by grade. And we've had sizes of groups where we had like 11 incoming third graders and we had to like send one up or down depending on the sizes. So being able to like add that kid back in with his peers would be certainly helpful for us. And So I think that's really the most significant change that I saw here. I don't know. I mean, this literally just came out this morning, published this morning. Someone sent me like a bootleg copy yesterday. Nothing's different from this, but they are officially up on the state website, and I'm sure Jim hasn't even seen them, honestly, because it literally just came out a minute ago. So, but that's it for the camp changes on phase 3 that I've seen.
I guess the big takeaways from that are that we could transport and we could do field trips, but we're not going to. But I just think like organizationally wise, planning wise, and feasibly wise, it's just not realistic at this point in time.
I have an idea about that, but I have to really look into it. So we can talk about it.
All right. So any questions about those updates? And we can send them out to everybody. So if you want to review them, so you have them, that's easy for us to do. We'll just forward them out after the meeting's over.
What are you guys doing with your vehicles after you do any of the transport stuff?
We aren't transporting.
You're not transporting. Okay.
Yep.
But if we did, there's a sanitation guide
Yep.
to be followed in these camp guidelines. So we would follow the guidelines there if we did.
So I think one of the things to think about, I mean, if you read through their transportation and their allowance for transportation, it really gets down to an equity issue. There were concerns that some camps weren't having, being able to take advantage of something in their own community, like a pool or a beach. I don't think this was really to say, hey, now you can go to Kennedy Lake, or now you can go to here. So when you're thinking about off-site trips, I think of them very locally as opposed to them anywhere else. And the transportation issue just compounds, because now you got to keep them apart and keep masks on them and deal with the vehicle. So it makes it a lot less complicated if they're walking to the beach like they do.
Yeah.
Great.
Right. Everything through the phase 3, it does say that you can increase your numbers, but you still have to do your 6 feet in between everybody, and still have to do your masks and everything, even with the increased number of people at camp.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying that, the 42 square foot per child, that's the grids I was talking to you about, Scott, yesterday. When we did them in the classrooms, we were able to do 16 squares. And when you include the doorway opening, that's 15. We've been sticking with the 10 kids in those groups. With the 2 staff, that equals 12. So this would allow us to get like 2 or 3 more kids in, which would be helpful with that like age staggering. But that would allow us to keep the kids still the same distances apart as they were, with that same grid in place with those classrooms. The other area where we keep groups in is in the cafeteria. That obviously is a giant area at Shaker Lane. We could easily go up to 25 with the square footage of that room. We would, I don't think we have a size of group. I think the biggest group we had was this week. We had 17 incoming 3rd graders. So we had to separate them into 2 groups of 10 in the rooms and cafeteria. But we would be able to put all of them in the cafeteria and make a bigger grid and have the kids be with 3 staff, instead of having separate them into 2 groups of 10 with two staff. It really kind of gives us a little bit more flexibility. With 2 staff members per 10, it really sort of handcuffs us financially. I mean, as you guys all know, we need this program for funding for our department. So, we're not exactly what we're used to as far as being fruitful in this program. We do know we're fulfilling a need for the community, and that's kind of really all we can hang our hats on this year. But getting that group size up a little bit will certainly give us a little bit more leeway as far as staffing and not being handcuffed into the 2 per 10 when that group size is bigger, if that makes any sense.
But the other thing I think is important is that I think they did away with, originally in the camp section of that big guide, section 13, they talked about needing 30 square feet for emergency shelter. They changed that in one of their iterations to get rid of the 30, but just say everyone needs to be able to do the 6 feet of distancing. So that should allow you a little bit of flexibility, just as you're looking at spaces.
Noted. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions about the camp updates?
John, it's Kevin. Just wondering, will this allow you to bring more kids down to the lake at one particular time?
Maybe that's more of a gym question, just because the area we're using isn't enormous. But we would maybe like bring that group of 15 down at once. It's certainly big enough, I think, for that. I'd have to really go back and sort of measure it out. But, as far as the group sizes and keeping the cohort a little bigger, expanding that group a little bit, I want to sort of bounce that back to Jim because we haven't discussed that. So it's certainly something I'd work with him on.
The space, we went down and looked at the space the day of the camp inspection, and it certainly looked like it was big enough that you could put, 15 people on it. The key thing is just trying to keep people apart and keeping them away from the rest of the folks on the beach. So.
Right.
Yeah, with the we have that section of the beach. I don't know if anybody has seen it other than Jim, but we have there's a fence that separates us from the public. And we have a system in place where we go and we station once, we go in groups of 10, 45-minute increments. One group comes and they sit in an area where they prepare to go into the water, sunscreen, with the life jackets for the Christian's Law. And then the other group's then they go down to the beach area, the sandy area, and then they come out, they dry off, and they exit kind of this way, and then the next group kind of cycles in around them. And then the next group will come as they're finishing up. And so we have the process where they never kind of, commingle, but it gives you an idea of sort of what it looks like if you haven't seen it. And the water is roped off as well for us.
Got it.
Okay. So one other thing I want to revisit Castle in the Trees, the playground itself. So I know Chairwoman Cindy Napoli checked in with me because she had received some emails from folks. Joe, I don't know if you have as well, just about concerns about people not socially distancing, not wearing masks, or leaving trash everywhere at the playground. So we have updated signage out there that now says that wearing masks, socially distancing, and removing trash is mandatory, and that if these guidelines cannot be met, then we will close the playground. We did a social media campaign yesterday, just, to let the public know that this was an issue. And, I know, Jim, you had talked before about people kind of policing and...
I'm not allowed to have the general public in the building right now.
I'm trying to find the housing authority.
I'll put you on mute. Yeah. So the signage is up there. We did our social media campaign. We had a lot of feedback from people. So just to give you a heads up. So I wanted to see if anybody had any questions about that or... No? Okay, so we'll keep an eye on it, see how it goes. And, that's something that we can keep up to date with this group. And moving forward, we'll talk about it at our Park Commission meetings as well, and try to brief the Board of Selectmen as much as possible if there's any changes or if we think we're moving towards any changes in that. But hopefully, with the new signage up, along with the COVID-19 safety warnings, that hopefully we'll see a bit of a change there. That would be great. The other playgrounds have been really good. Haven't really had any issues at Fay or at the beach, but beach, we have the staff that's there monitoring. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with that. All right, so we got that update done. And so one thing with our department is we're always about like 2 seasons ahead of time, which, being in the middle of COVID-19 has been an absolute nightmare for us to try to plan and get everything ready. We still don't know where the schools are going to be at this point in time, what the game plan is. I've talked to Kelly about, just letting us know when we have an idea of what's going to be happening so we can try to make some plans. Again, being on the enterprise fund, it is our responsibility to be, to bring in the money to be able to keep our department afloat. We still have to figure out how to do the planning. So with that, we had a conversation yesterday with Scott, and I know John and Jim have been communicating about different programs as well. And there is was it 8 per 1,000 feet? What was the actual, is that right,
I think
Scott?
otherwise specified as 10.
Okay. So we were looking at what the options could possibly be, once we decide that town hall is going to open up, and, the use of the multi-purpose room, or 123, which is where we had our after-school program based in the past. So I think we just wanted to have a conversation. I mean, we're not making any, rules or, specific plans, but, are we able to operate on the camp operations because they've been successful, or as we move into these programs in winter, fall and winter, are we sticking to that 8 or 10 per 1,000 feet? Square feet, sorry. Jim, Scott, that's kind of in your realm of what you think. And
I know as far as, town hall and everything, we've been going by the governor's latest recommendation, which is the 8 per 1,000 square feet. I don't know if you guys are doing something different, Jim, or?
No, I mean, the latest workplace safety standard for they have one called specification. Otherwise, when it doesn't fit into the category, they have something, and it talks about 10 per 1,000 square feet. It's updated. What's the update on it? I think it's the 6th of July. I'd have to take a look. So to answer your question, Lisa, no, the camp wouldn't apply during the off season. And a big part of it is, I was talking with John, is that camps assume that you're outdoors a bunch, and outdoors is good because you've got less of a viral load to worry about. So
right.
No, I wouldn't apply camp rules to non-camp situations.
Okay. So going off of the multi-purpose room, John and I went and we measured it, and it's about 2,150 square feet. So that's about 16 people.
20. Now 20, right? With the 10 per 1,000?
Well, yeah, 16 to 20, let's call it that. Okay. So, again, this is something we would want to coordinate with Elder and Human Services. I know that more than likely that's going to be the last group to come back into town hall, as they are, a high-risk group. So we want to, knowing that there's a new Elder and Human Service Director coming on, we want to work with them to make sure that when they're ready to come back in, that, we're sharing that space with them appropriately. And, but if it's something that we can take advantage of while they're not here, to be able to help us, work on, covering all the costs for the department. And if we could, our hope is to be able to put some reserve fund away for this year as well, if it's possible. That would be ideal. And I think the concern that we have is moving into the later fall, winter, and early spring is, everything would have to be based indoors more than likely. It gets a lot more challenging for us to do program outside. So, we would like to try to front load and be able to get the programs in if we can during, early fall. We would also be looking at virtual programs as well. So, just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Again, we're just trying to get into the planning mindset, because we're shifting. July is usually our shift to start thinking about fall and winter. So if you guys have any feedback, any thoughts, just, I mean, where we are right now, things could change. They could change for the better, change for the worst. We just have to be prepared for that. So yeah, just any feedback that you guys have.
So I guess your point, Scott, what I was looking at is one of the workplace safety standards. It's for sectors not otherwise addressed. It's what it's called, July 6th, and it talks about 10 per 1,000 square feet. And it still talks about the importance of social distancing and masks and all of that kind of stuff. So I think anything that you're looking at, it certainly won't come under camp because the outdoor part of it's out. But I think for the lack of another standard to kind of work with, that one seems appropriate.
Yeah, just I don't know if I wanted to like somewhat different, but somewhat similar. The conversation that Jim and I had yesterday, and I had talked to Scott about it when he was here yesterday as well, about doing like that Minecraft camp. We have a technology guy that we have at camp. Thinking about just another possible way to sort of have a program available for kids, and we talked about a half-day program. Jim and I, talked about the options and thought multi-purpose room would be best. We can certainly use the 1,000 per 10. But the important part was outside breaks, ventilation of the room, built-in breaks where the kids can go out to the courtyard area and just to get that fresh air into the sunlight for moments in between where they're just not sitting stagnant in a room with recycled air for the entire 3-hour session. So I'm going to draw up a plan for that to give to Jim, and yes.
It's not recycled air, so I don't want you to use that phrase. We talked about that with Scott, so do not use that phrase because that's not what we have in the town hall.
Okay. It wasn't an official term, but okay.
I mean, that's
anyway.
something like, people get nervous about that because that's something when you think about airplanes, like they have the recycled air on airplanes. We do not have that in town hall.
Okay.
You get the conditioned air that comes in, through the rooftop units and exhausted. And yeah, definitely, there's the differences between, some of the individuals are very particular about that and don't want that type of an atmosphere and make it known.
Thank you. I'll
Not
make sure I don't use
recirculated.
that term ever again.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I'm going to put something together in writing with some sketching, and we're going to use the same pre-screen form for camp. We're going to have the kids submit all that paperwork for camp that they do. We'll temperature check at the door. We'll do a rolling drop off. We'll, and we'll limit it to the size that allows us, we're probably going to go with just 10 kids, and, sanitation of the room between groups if we do have multiple groups in a day. And if we don't, then we'll just sort of adhere to the camp guidelines as far as sanitation is concerned. But that was just something we had talked about. I want to update Scott on the conversation we had with Jim too.
Okay.
It's good.
Any other questions about or suggestions? We're open to suggestions as well. If folks have anything for the fall and winter planning. No.
This is Kevin. I would just say, be ready to supplement, whatever happens with the school calendar and how they decide to move forward. I think there's going to be a big gap to fill, and hopefully you guys can figure out how to be there for different families as you were with the KFT. I think that'll go a long way.
Yeah, and that we want to have that relationship with the school so we can try to work with them hand in hand. Because there is a lot of concern about what's going to happen. And the reality is, what I've heard from the superintendent is that they're planning on trying to make a decision in mid-August on what they're going to do. But at this point in time, again, we've all been through it up to this point of you just don't know if you're going to be able to make a decision and when you're going to be able to make that decision. So, we just kind of have to be patient and, know that they're going to do the right thing for the students.
Have you guys thought about coming up with those sort of those three ways to supplement, whether it's, the kids are all remote or they're partially remote or we're back in full time, like what your programs look like in every step of, each of those incarnations?
Yeah, so we've, the hybrid class is not something that we've done yet, but we have talked about the possibility of, let's say that we've used it as an example for our fitness classes. So let's say that, we had the instructor and maybe 5 participants that wanted to physically be in the same space with the instructor. And then we could also do a live broadcast of that so that people could join in remotely as well. So when we talk about hybrid, we're looking, at allowing people to do their comfort level. So we're talking about it. We just haven't actually come up with like a set way of making that happen yet. But absolutely, we are looking at as many options as we possibly can at this time.
Nice.
I do want to acknowledge, I see Jennifer Kane is here, so I'm not sure if she has questions, but if you guys want to allow her to speak, that's up to you guys.
I didn't. I was just listening in. I've seen a lot of posts by various moms with concerns about the playgrounds, and just wanted to kind of listen in and see what you guys were thinking and what Scouts is trying to figure out the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, how are we going to help with everything going on and everything else? So I'm just listening in. That's all. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it. All right. So the next question I have is, sorry. So one of the things that we were talking about for special events, because they've kind of been taken off of the books. But one of the things that we were talking about, haven't really made any plans moving forward, but we have the giant inflatable movie screen. So we were talking about doing drive-ins. A lot of other recreation departments are, doing those. So I just kind of wanted to get the take again of this group just to see what you guys think about it. Yeah.
Great
I
idea.
think it's a great idea.
Well, thanks,
Yeah, I
John.
agree. I
Are you
think it's a
gonna
good
do
idea.
it? Fay Park or at the beach?
Don't know. So I'm always protective of the grass, so I don't really want people driving on the grass. So if we could find a parking lot to be able to do it, I would be a lot happier. And then you also already have the grid where people can socially distance, using the parking spaces. So we're looking at possibly parking lot instead of actually on grass. But yeah, if you guys have any anything that you would want us to consider if we move forward with doing something like this, throw it out there.
So I think the state has one of those workplace safety sheets for drive-in. I'll take a look, but I'm pretty sure they have one for that. And again,
Okay.
I would imagine any outdoor gatherings limited to 100,
Right.
so including staff. So
Okay. If you find that, Jim, can you send that to me?
I will.
You are the best. Thank you, sir. Okay. All right. And so the last piece, I guess, that we wanted to talk about was, again, planning for the fall and winter. One of the things that we've typically done mid-fall going into the beginning of winter is the flag football. And I know that football itself is on the high risk list as far as youth sports goes, youth and adult sports. So I just wanted to kind of get your, Jim, your impression on flag football, since it's not technically contact. And I don't know if I would imagine there's going to be updated rules that come into play, like with some of the softball and things like that. We've had to make a few amendments just to make sure that the social distancing and mask wearing is, added into the actual sport itself. So just wanted to get some feedback on how you guys feel about flag football.
I guess my thought is until they change it from the high risk sport Flag football is just probably shy of as contact a sport as regular football is, at
Yeah.
least the games that I've been involved in. So unless you're going to try to keep the kids all apart, you got to get close enough to get that flag, and sometimes you get too close. And so
Yeah.
I guess that's my thought on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's really a great sport to be wearing a mask.
I know. Jim.
So if you can get 3-foot hula hoops that they can all wear playing the game, so they can't get within 6 feet of each other.
With the pool
Trying to get
noodles?
the flag. That's right.
You have to take the pool noodles off.
There you go.
Okay. John, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up or discuss?
No, I just wanted to, as far, we have that fairly successful flag football league in the fall that, we'd love to be able to do. And, obviously, it might be difficult with that. And I hear what Jim's saying on people getting a little too close, a little too touchy-feely on the flag grabbing. So certainly a concern. So we'll wait to see what happens for guidance. We do want to try to we kind of have like the same group of adults that play all our adult sports. Kind of year round, cornhole, even though, that's not really hugely active, but, we have something sort of every season. So we'd like to do something in the fall. We're just trying to figure out what that's going to be. We might, just extend softball, make a fall ball league that we were just talking about this morning with Alicia. Maybe like a kickball league or something that has the same guide as softball, but we do want to do something for the adults. And, obviously, if there's something that's needed for the kids, most of it, flag football has kind of fallen through the cracks in the youth program out there. That's why Alicia brought that up too for youth, because they kind of came up with this hybrid semi-contact where they're wearing like leather helmets, and registration sort of plummeted there. And we thought maybe we could help pick up that slack and bring back the old flag football program. That's kind of why we were talking about that this morning too. So obviously we'll wait for further guidance on that, but we would love to sort of maybe pick that ball up a little bit, so to speak, and roll with that. But as far as adult sports, we'll just keep with the list that's given to us at the moment, and work on something for the fall for folks to do something, because I know that, like I said, it's the same sort of core group of people that do it, and they really love it. So we'd like to try to keep people active on that.
All right. I think that is all I have on my list of stuff to discuss. Are there any other questions, suggestions, comments, concerns?
I just have one comment. I guess I have the occasion to go down to Camp T to do their inspection, and unlike in past years where I typically arrange to do the inspections, I can make sure everything's there. This time I just popped in because my big concern was, how is this mask wearing thing going to work out, and the social distancing thing going to work out? And I had been to some other camps, and I'm not going to name anything, but kind of my concern was that maybe it couldn't happen. But Camp T did a wonderful job. They had a really good, just a way of thinking about it. The camp director said, hey, look, we have mask time, we have unmasked time, we just make sure we keep the kids, and so compliance is quite high. The kids seem to be having a good time. I was quite happy with how they were handling not only the camp, but the additional requirements put on it by the current time. So good job to the camp staff down there. They did a nice job.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Yeah, you certainly took us by surprise.
That was the goal.
All right.
I'll just comment on that further. I think it's really working, and I hope that the school department, Kelly and them might want to come visit and just see that it is possible, and it might make them feel a little bit better about bringing kids into school this year. And I'd love for them to walk through and get in, sort of see how we're doing it with the grid. And I'm sure they have their own plans. I'm sure they're well ahead of it, but I think seeing it in action wouldn't hurt them to come. We've all talked in the camp community that we're in the front lines here of bringing people back into the world, especially kids. And we'd love to help the school department feel a little bit more at ease about, the programs being able to be, the school and the classrooms itself. I mean, we're on the classrooms that it's doable, so I think it's it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is. It's happening, and kids are safe, and you know, we have a really good system in place. The guidance is there, and it's really helpful. You know, we don't need to ask for much for outside, you know, when certain things are happening. And Jim's been there for, we had one situation where we called him, but you know, it's a doable arena to do this mask wearing with the kids. And, you know, it would be good to have some, you know, working cohesion with the school department to, hopefully show them the way a little bit.
So, and John, you covered all the responsible things that are coming out of it, but I want to remind people too that the kids are having a really great time. I think that was a lot of concerns that the parents had, is that it was going to be so regimented that it would be an absolutely terrible experience for the kids, and it is not that at all. The kids are absolutely enjoying themselves and having such an awesome time. You know, so it's, again, not only is it safely possible, but the positive learning enjoyment space is there as well. So, you know, I just want to give credit to, again, our camp staff for that, because a lot of it comes from them. And, you know, we had that conversation when we started. It's as good as you make it. So it's, you know, they have amazing attitudes and they're super positive. So, you know, they're a great group of individuals that work for us.
Yeah, and we get a lot of thank yous from parents as they drop off and they pick up. And, you know, I know a lot of the people, and I get tons of text messages. Thank you. This is great. You know, your drop off, you know, procedure. I dropped off my son at your camp and my daughter at another camp, and it was a nightmare there. And yours has been smooth. And, you know, a lot of thank yous, a lot of kids smiling, happy to have, you know, their social life a little bit back. So.
John, have you been in touch with Tasha Clark?
I have not. I know her, but what's she looking for?
She's heading up the I think the parent committee on, you know, coming up with a few different ways to get Shaker back up and running, along with Michelle Kane, of course. But maybe I can just put you in touch with her. I'm sure she'd love to come take a tour and see how things are operating.
Yeah, we're not technically supposed to have visitors, but I think
right.
You know, if we ask Jim and you guys if it's okay for something like that, we'd certainly welcome it.
Given the way you do your stuff down there, I can't imagine that would be a problem.
Thank you. Yeah, then let's go for it. I think I'm Facebook friends with Tasha. I'll send her a message.
Yeah, I'll text
Okay.
her and I'll connect you guys too.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Anything else?
I wondered if Joe got his pants hemmed yesterday is my other question.
Yeah, I talked to her about you, so it's when you
told
go
her
back
not to
in.
trust me.
Hey, in all honesty, John, sometime I'd like to take a tour just quickly so I could report to the board how physically I was down there, and you could just show me how things are running.
Absolutely. Anytime, you just let me know. We'll go over.
Okay, sounds good.
It was one of the less hot days, Joe.
Yeah.
All right. Again, I appreciate you all for your time and, you know, continuing to do this. It's super helpful. It's good for us to be able to run these ideas and thoughts by you. And it really does, you know, put us in a path to be able to plan appropriately. So again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we're always here. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, send me an email, call me, whatever you need. Okay.
At least I got one comment.
Joe.
I think what you're doing right now is so important, because in town government, we see a lot that communications aren't there and people get the wrong message. By having this, I take notes and report back to the board, because they'll be asking questions about different things. I just love this idea of getting everyone involved, that everyone can see what's going on, so it's not hearsay of something that's happening over there. So thank you.
No problem. I'm happy to do this. This is, like I said, it's super helpful for everybody. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you.
Later. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.